Good morning, friends. This is Joy, and I have some interesting stuff to say. We just went through the completion of the eclipse because it begins with the solar eclipse and then it moves through all the time to the lunar eclipse. This is like that expanse when they do, is it time lapse photography? I think is the appropriate word here, where they leave the aperture open to see what the bigger picture is, what the samskara is, to set the record straight. Now, I have this guide that comes to me that I call grandfather. And he came several months ago saying he was going to set the record straight. Now, what's wild is they're asking us to reflect on about 2 months ago, almost to the day of where were you, and wanting you to acknowledge and look at how far you have come, how many things are already coming into play, because it's in the little things, not just seeking out little things to do. What they're saying is those little things add up, so reflect back. Okay, that's the first goodie. The second goodie is this. They're talking about how the ancients would manifest when they were on their own, because wherever two agree, it will happen. And that thing is where do you get anybody to get in agreement with you? And they're saying get in agreement with yourself by writing it down. That is the Chiron key that's coming in, is when we write it down and we can set our eyes upon it. It's kind of like some people call spell casting, because you're combining these symbols to set forth a certain intention. That's also where henna and woading came from, is they would put the intention on their body that it would be accomplished by the time it had, quote, disappeared. It would have gone from that vision into reality. Okay, so when they're telling you to make a plan, why some of us have to hear it this way instead of like set goals, write it down, make plans, we're like, that's too earthly, too worldly of a way of saying it. Well, so here is the spiritual world coming on in saying, when you write it down, when you set those goals and you begin to map it out, when things and forces come against your mind, or your mind begins to get cluttered, we're going to get into that because that has to do with the south node, okay, or our descending. We can get trapped into falling back, or falling into adjacent possibilities, or falling out of ourself, or faltering, or those other sort of things. 222, whoever wondered there. They're wanting you to get into the synchronicity of divine perfection. Now, when you write these things out and you set them before you, you can remember them. Some people are strong visionaries that they can always conjure it forth into their imagination, which is good. But when you take the hand and you write it down in the pen, you've already made it physical, kind of like the henna or the woading, like we're talking about, right? It's sort of that spell casting, right? It's saying that where I am at, I am in agreement that that is here now, that that is coming forward now, that that is entering my experience now. So that's why some of us are scribes or writers. We change the world by writing it or drawing it or painting it, that type of thing. We create the vision in a physical, tangible world. Okay, South Node, here's the little addendum. The South Node the other day in one of the teachings, which you can call them readings and tarot and all that, but they're really ways to bypass all the atmosphere and to bring in the teaching that we need for our life right now to get us to the desired place. Now, they were talking about the South Node, where we say that's the place where we're most comfortable. Not always. Same as we need to hear it through this lens, right? The South Node can also be distractions while you're on the way to where you're going, because they're things that are familiars, like people, situations, things, you know, and we talk about people who divine often have a familiar, aka a cat or a dog or something, because it's where they place their intentions in excess energy. It's an extra set of eyes, intuition, instinct, that sort of thing. From the time they told me to record this, my throat has gummed up. It is the weirdest thing. So let's just move over it, y'all. Okay, keep going with me here. So those familiar situations, people, places, or things, they're those bags of energy where the excess worry, doubt, confusion, frustration can come, but it can also grow and fester there as well. So they're saying that it's not so much those things. That's why they've been talking about in this second half of the Death Star, the Death Node of Taurus and Scorpio, is to get inside in your mind, do the inner work. hold it down, keep going towards those goals. So write them down, map them out. You may not know on the exact days it's going to occur, but you might know the sequence, okay? You might not know any of that. You might just know one thing. So write that one thing down. And when it's done, you better believe there's going to be another step coming, because this isn't just a they and a them and these vague gods and guardians or whatever. It is your future self talking to you, because you're inseparable from you, okay? All of you. The whole of you, the entirety of you, the one that was gestating inside, the one that has all the powerful stem cells that still know how to go to the area and differentiate salamander energy, to the ones that have the wisdom in the now and can bring it into the now while you're still ignorant. Ignorance is the only darkness that is deadly, okay? But it is knowable. So when we connect to ourself, that space dissipates and the resistance goes out. And Uranus, which is the planet of rebellion, now becomes obsolete because we've unified with ourselves. Okay, so Uranus can now just go back to being a planet instead of a malefic or an influence over you that causes you to be in this like perpetual tug of war that at certain moments feels good, but at other times it feels wretched. Okay, so that South Node energy is the distraction. That's why they're telling you to write it down, and it's going to begin to clear the clutter. Make the plans of action of whatever flows and comes to you at that time. It might feel like, you might feel like me, where you have your hand in many fires, many pots, right? But there's a lot going on in the dynamism of who I am. So this might get a little bit of attention that day, and this might here, and that might here. But they're saying that just go with the flow. That's why you write it down so that you don't get scattered. This is unifying you and bringing you back to the fulcrum, the central point, okay? So let me see what goes from there. Okay, so I got a really deep revelation from my son that's homeless. When I look at people, I get revelations about situations and things. So I'm really good at doing readings and transformative readings to get people back into the center of who they are, which is where all things are possible. Anything you desire or dream can come true. So when I sit around people, somehow I start seeing through their perspective. And because I'm having a brand new experience, it has a lot of wisdom in there. Many of us were these magnificent bodies of wisdom, and we don't even know it. So he was born right at the time that technology was going from, let me just say, digital to visual, okay? Digital, by that I mean like when it's just words printed up on a screen. It's like for storing hospital documents and stuff like that, where you type in forms and fields. So then it took on a false dimension, because it's still 2D, just like a television, right? But it's in the 3D matrix of the mind of believing that you can affect change through there. Now, it does have its place that it's serving, but I'm talking about the social aspect of it, okay? And not just this. I'm talking about the people who've been trapped in that dynamic and they do not know it, okay? The carrot dangling out. Let me try one more time. Let me do this a little more. Let me hit another one. Let me check another one. Let me this and that. If you've experienced that at any point, imagine that and make that the whole covering over you, that you see no edge. It's like being out in the middle of the ocean, that you don't know anything any differently than that. That is where a lot of people are stuck right now. And there are those of us that we kind of navigate in and out of that space. We recognize it. We're like, oh, bad taste. Let me set that aside. Let me put that aside. I can feel it taking me over, and I don't like that feeling. That's not satisfying anymore. Okay. So that's the dangling carrot that is out in front of a lot of people in this generation. And I don't mean age groups when I say generation. Generation means all the people vibrating on the planet right now, okay? And it's this fact that we have this key distract, okay? And that interesting thing, and we'll also get into a little, I think it's where we're going to wrap up at point 4 about doubt. So if I don't get to it, please leave it in the comments down below for me, and I'll make another one of these to go along with that seated out in confidence, okay? Because I see it so plainly. And when we make so much of spirituality, or it's been made, not we, into this nebulous, vague thing, very Neptunian, but Jupiter stepped in to take over in Pisces, where it all comes together and it starts to make sense. We become the creators, okay? So let me see where I'm getting back on track. Dangling carrot. Okay. So before, when we would watch television, movies, things like that, that was already an element of distraction. It went from radio, where it was just the ears, to where it begins to interact with a lot of our systems. Our systems are our senses, okay? So we go through, if you wonder, I keep looking over here and thinking that's where my camera is. Forgive. Anyways, so those distractions coming in, right? And then it got into a user interface where the computer, like I said, when my son was born, started merging into visuals. It started merging into text. It started becoming interactive, which the television isn't. The only interaction is you yelling explicatives if you're watching a football game, or maybe you're crying over a movie, or you're feeling the intensity of a great sitcom that you love, whatever it is, okay? So then it moves into interface. Whether it's editing your own photography, whether it's playing video games, whether it's creating a website, I don't even know, but it's trying to create this interaction. And then there are those, especially a lot of our youth right now, that are being trapped in it as a place to be known. And it's a false reality. It's getting your whole self transported out into the outer world where you do not have genuine influence and change. It's fleeting, it goes, it's fleeting, it goes, it's fleeting, it goes, because it moves just like that pulse. It's here and it's gone, like a shooting star, right? So it's gotten you to transfer all of your information, all of your identity outside of you. So now we have a bunch of empty vessels going on, whether they're empty all day, whether empty for lengths and months and periods of time, or whether they're empty for blinks, blips, and moments, okay? That's when transfer can come in. That's when other energies can come in. And we're not going to talk possessions and things because people think demons and stuff. You know, we're just talking energy. And what is not natural to you starts coming inside, okay? Because it is an exchange. We're never truly that vacuum or that void, or else we would, dissipate. But there is, even if there's an energy inside, it is the void. It's not an empty space. It's full of emptiness, but it's full. Okay, that's why they want us to be in the state of plenty, because when we're in the state of plenty, it is removed. It is removed from this whole capsule of experience that some of you started tuning into this channel per zodiacs, right? But the zodiac is just a belt. It's kind of like the tropics. If you just lived in that belt, it has just sort of a single note experience going on. Okay, it's not reducing it down if you live there or anything. We're talking energy, people. Okay, so they want you to have the whole universe, everything, to be able to navigate your whole self, experience your whole self, be intimate with your whole self. It's kind of like people refer to as adulting, meaning you are in charge of this whole thing and you're the master of this whole thing and you're aware of the whole thing. And 1, 2, 3, 4, whoever's wondering. And that way you're able to create and proceed through creation and continue in creation. And you not only begin to see how it starts, you see how it branches out like a tree of life. And then that begins to have dimension, and then creatures come and stars are set in the sky and the image begins to expand. Okay, let me get a little sip here. So there are those that are getting trapped in the, I'm just going to call it the technology world. We could call it AI or whatever, but it's not the specific things. It's the visuals. And it gets you lured into wanting to beat the game, wanting to have a bigger bank account, wanting to do all these things. And the key word there is want, not whatever falls after it. Okay, because want is when we're outside of ourselves. Desire is fulfilled. Empowerment is when we are inside of ourselves. Okay, so that's why reading books used to transport you to another world. Now, anything can be excessive. We're all talking about the centrality and the balance here. So bringing it back to the center, bringing it back to the balance. But when you would read books, it's taking this, again, the nebulous, we're talking lots of Neptune right now, the energy going on around you, bringing it in, you creating the view inside of you. You're hearing the characters in the voices that are coming in the way you hear the voices. You're seeing the imagery in the scene in the way you designed it, okay? There's a lot of authorship, creatorship, and empowerment going on there. Not by somebody who wrote the book, but by you, the reader. By choosing to read and open the book, you're now opening your mind to portals of vision and wisdom and understanding, and maybe, like you could say, avataring, but maybe living vicariously, not for the sake of escapism, but to recognize, ooh, wow, like you could read a biography and recognize, wow, okay, they made those pivotal mistakes. My life has kind of been going along that same trajectory. Is there anything they're going through that I could take their experience, put it inside of myself, begin to meditate on it, and let my spirit and soul guide me as to how and what portions of that apply, that I can apply and then begin to alter my experience around me. Okay, so it's kind of the gift of love, because it helps us bypass a lot of common fallacies, tricks, lies, wasted time and space, the unnecessaries. You get what I'm saying? Okay, so that's going to sit there for now, and we're going to get 2.4, which has to do with confidence. Confidence is key. Now, if you're wondering, that ain't just some big old crowns of hair on my head, I could own it, but that's Lakshmi back there. Yes, my Buddha comes to me as Lakshmi. She is the one of abundance who has entered the perpetual rest, the state where creatorship takes its second cell division. That's when it begins to form life. Okay, that's when the commitment to go forward is there. So anyways, the confidence is key, C-H-I, that type of key, because we're talking energy, is chironic, all right? And so the reason confidence is key is to keep moving forward. Hold on, y'all. Okay, that was a message interrupting. But we keep moving forward when what we'll just use simplified terms and not get into the science of it right now. But when bad things start to happen, or treacherous things or terrifying things, all that starts to happen, here's how it goes. The reason why you begin to lift your confidence is those things are occurring because your confidence has begun to diminish. Confidence, think of it like a bank account. Think about like groceries in the fridge. They're in the fridge, and if you're hungry and you keep eating them, there's going to come a point that you need to replenish and feed the fridge, just like you've been replenishing and feeding yourself. It is a dynamic relationship. Remember that second fold, or that second division, which is actually multiplication when it comes to life. That then it begins to make sense. So these things that are occurring, this is the master manifestation class. The reason they're occurring is your confidence has begun to diminish. And so I asked myself, I'm like, confidence diminishing. Okay, can you show me that? And they're saying it diminishes a little doubt at a time, a little doubt at a time. That doubt comes in also as a form of distraction, south node energy, right? That begins to kind of tug at you or pull you back or hold you down or move you around. We could talk oppression, depression, anxiety. We could talk worry. We could talk any of those conditions. So they're like a level 3. But each level 3, when you open the box, it's like the snake that pops out of the can. It expands. Okay, it's expansive, and it begins to take over your faculties and your perspective by being an integral force of interruption. All right, and we don't need that interruption. It's when we're able to go and come on back. Ooh, that's Israfel. Israfel on the Angelarian card. I can't find y'all because I got them all shuffled up in here together, but oh my gosh, Israfel, if you want to come out, please come speak to us. But anyway, Israfel is the one that is walking on forward and just does the stiff arm, but it's the hand. You know what I mean? Football is the stiff arm. You know, I got this. I'm going to know where I'm going. I'm going to my goal. I'm going to my reward. I'm pursuing my satisfaction. It stiff arms it and says, out of my space. Out of my headspace, because remember, we've been talking lately, our headspace is everywhere the arms can reach. Everywhere within there is your personal space, and it's your mind. That is the mind. And that's why we do that breath of inhaling in through the nose and out through the mouth, because that's when we clear out anything that is waste product, that is not of us, that is unnecessary. They're talking about these simple functions that really make life doable and achievable, especially in this modern era where earth and technology are meeting, where the plasma is coming in. It's the water and the air, all right? Like, how do we create? So anyways, the doubt comes in and it begins to dissipate or spend your confidence. Why? Because it begins to warble and warp what you are believing. I call it believing what you be living. What I be living begins to get altered and bumped around and distorted and dented and dinged. Think of like door dings on your car, you know what I'm saying? Or dirt on your clothes, that type of thing. And that's why they're teaching about that simple breath. It handles the three different forms. It handles the body, it handles the mind, and it handles the soul, because it's using the spirit to unify it all and to continue to bring back to you, because at this channel, it is all about you. That's why I don't do predictive tarot. I'm not doing the things trying to limit your future and telling you it's this way or that way and trying to titillate what is there. I want your desires fulfilled, and not just that, I want you fulfilling them. I want you in the power of creatorship and the excitement of who you are, of all systems go, and you being like, whoa, I've got this. I'm where I come from, not my parents. That's just where I came through, and now I'm returning to myself. So it might seem interesting now as your ears leaning in, that is where we overcome the nodes. The nodes are the retrograde aspect, or the backspin on who we are. Many of us are caught in the backspin, getting whipped around by like the tail of the Leviathan or the crocodile or the alligator, which is a powerful force, instead of getting into the head. Now, here's the crazy thing. I guess this is point 5. We get into the head by taking hold of the tail, the Ouroboros. All right, because our head is actually down here, base root chakra. It's where we plug in, because we are actually heaven, or what people call heaven. We are the body of dreams, the universe, and we plug into the earth through our sits bones. All right, that is the direct contact. Now, if we get on our feet and we're having any sort of abnormal energy or misalignment going on, then we get alternating current. Y'all, I'm going to listen to this. I'm going to listen to it twice. I don't know if you're doing it, but this is serious stuff. If you think on quantum level, this will make sense to you. I don't study that. I don't know it. They're just telling me that, and I'm hearing it, and I'm super excited about it. So when you sit, you're doing that full-on connection. So imagine if you sit and then you write. So they're talking about this being some of our processing. No wonder they had me sit on the floor. I'm like, what are we doing? They're like, get over here. We're ready to talk. This is being fully connected. Nothing to bypass. It's amazing. That was a little lenient there for y'all. Okay. Well, so anyways, hopefully the confidence as it begins to diminish, those things going on are letting you know it's being sucked up. Like the gas is running out, the oil is running dry, those type of things. It's like if the window is down, you're going to feel wind hitting you. Okay. That's letting you know, hey, the window is down in the car. So when these things begin to hit you, it's letting you know you've let something down. That's the guard that you've let down, is your confidence. And by that, you've been having to protect yourself for so long, thinking you have a faulty window, trying to figure out the window. How does the window operate? How do I change the operation of the window? And I'm like, no, it's confidence. Confidence. That is your protector. Confidence, thus backing up to the previous things we talked about. So maybe listen to this twice yourself as well, because then you'll see where they've been going all along, and then you'll understand how we create. I love it. They don't want me to say another word. I'm not going to say another word. We're going to leave it right there. We're not dropping the mic. We're leaving it hanging, because they still have more to say. Happy completion of the eclipse. Happy entering the spiral of Chiron and moving up and moving out in your life. Wonkavate into your wild, wacky, wonderful world. This full of pleasure and satisfaction for you, bringing your color into our world. I'm so excited about it. Now just know I love you. Check out the other videos, because see, these wisdoms are tucked in stuff called tarot. I love you. Bye. Ta-da.